Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. National Tax Security Awareness Week Day 3. IRS expands Identity Protection PIN opt-in program to taxpayers nationwide. IR 2020-267, December 2nd, 2020. IRS YouTube video. New security measures help protect against tax-related identity theft. There's a link to that here. Washington. As part of the Security Summit effort, the Internal Revenue Service announced today that starting in January, the Identity Protection PIN opt-in program will be expanded to all taxpayers who can properly verify their identities. The summit partners, including state agencies, the nation's tax industry, and the IRS, marked the third day of the National Tax Security Awareness Week by urging taxpayers who want to proactive protection against identity theft to opt into the Identity Protection PIN program in 2021. The IPPIN is a 6-digit number assigned to eligible taxpayers to help prevent the misuse of their Social Security number on fraudulent federal income tax return. An IPPIN helps the IRS verify a taxpayer's identity and accept their electronic or paper tax return. The online Get an IPIN PIN tool at IRS.gov, IPIN immediately displays the taxpayer's IPPIN. So this could be a nice tool for them to basically have the identification without being reliant simply on the Social Security number. So this sounds interesting. So I'm going to probably look into it more myself here. So, quote, when you have this special code, it prevents someone else from filing a tax return with your Social Security number, end quote, said IRS Commissioner Chuck Reddick. Quote, the fastest way to get an identity protection PIN is to use our online tool, but remember, you must pass a rigorous authentication process. You must know that the person asking for the IPIN PIN is the legitimate taxpayer. So it seems kind of like a double authentication type of check, a double check, so that if someone has your Social Security number, they would not be able to file the tax return. So back to the text. The online tool uses secure access authentication, which uses several different ways to verify a person's identity. Before using the, quote, Get an IPPIN, end quote, tool, the IRS encourages taxpayers to review the requirements at IRS.gov/security access. There's a link to that here. For those who cannot pass security access authentication, there are alternatives. Taxpayers with incomes of $72,000 or less and with access to a telephone should complete Form 15227 and mail or fax it to the IRS. An IRS assister will call the taxpayer to verify their identity with a series of questions. For additional security reasons, taxpayers who pass authentication will receive an IPPIN the following tax year. Taxpayers who cannot verify their identities remotely or who are ineligible to file a Form 15227 may make an appointment, visit a taxpayer assistance center, or bring 2 forms of picture identification. Because this is an in-person identity verification, an IPPIN will be mailed to the taxpayer within 3 weeks. Taxpayers who obtain an IPPIN should never share their code with anyone but their trusted tax provider. The IRS will never call to request the taxpayer's IPPIN, and taxpayers must be alert to potential IPPIN scams. So here's what taxpayers need to know about the IPPIN before applying. The Get an IPPIN tool will be available in mid-January. This is the preferred method of obtaining an IPPIN and the only one that immediately reveals the PIN to the taxpayer. Taxpayers who want to voluntarily opt into the IPPIN program do not need to file a Form 14039 identity theft affidavit. The IPPIN valid for 1 year. Each January, the taxpayers must obtain a newly generated IPPIN. The IPPIN must be properly entered on electronic and paper tax returns to avoid rejections and delays. Taxpayers with either a Social Security number or identification tax number who can verify their identities are eligible for the opt-in program. Any primary taxpayer listed first on the return, secondary taxpayer listed second on the return, or dependent may obtain an IPPIN if they can pass the identity proofing requirements. The IRS plans to offer an opt-out feature to the IPPIN program in 2022 if taxpayers find it is not right for them. There's no change to the IPPIN program for confirmed victims of tax-related identity theft. Those taxpayers should still file a Form 14039 if their e-file tax return rejects because of a duplicate Social Security filing. The IRS will investigate their case, and once the fraudulent tax return is removed from their account, confirmed victims automatically will receive an IPPIN via postal mail at the start of the next calendar year. IPPINs will be mailed annually to confirmed victims only and participants enrolled prior to 2019. Because of the security risks, confirmed identity theft victims cannot opt out of the IPPIN program. Confirmed victims also can use the Get an IPPIN tool to retrieve lost IPPINs assigned to them. The IRS, state tax agencies, the private sector industry, including tax professionals, work in partnership with the Security Summit to help protect taxpayers from identity theft and refund fraud. This is the third week-long series of tips to raise awareness about identity theft. The IRS.gov/Security Summit for more details. There's a link to that here. There'll be a link to this in the description.